And let me share the screen. Oops. Let me not share the screen until I change the screen. Now share the screen. All right, welcome back everybody to conversation number 105. We're really getting up there in digits. We're talking ethical experimentation with Namrata. But as always, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors, starting with Conductrix. They've been with us from the very, very beginning. And so thank you, Matt, Nate, Ezekiel, Ashley, and the entire team at Conductrix so much for supporting the TLC. We'd also like to thank our TLC newsletter sponsors, starting again with Conductrix, Ask Why, and Growth Book. Thank you all so much for providing your thought leadership to the community. And thank all three of you, as well as our other Experimentation Island sponsors, if anyone would like to meet them in person. Our next round of tickets for Experimentation Island go on sale November 19th and will be on sale till December 10th. That'll be the open motivation ticket sales. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a bit. And maybe while you're there, I don't know, maybe you can convince some of them to sing for you during the karaoke. I'm sure Graham and Matt would be all about that. Anyway, thank you again to Convert for sponsoring the Amazing Conversations channel. Each month, take a chance, answer a question, get to know your fellow experimenters, and you might win a little cash for joining the conversation. Last but far from least, thank you, Eddie Aguilar and Blazing Growth for sponsoring the TLC community. So as I mentioned, a little bit more about Experimentation Island. Time for a few more updates. We announced speakers number 4 and 5, Dylan Lewis, founding member of the TLC, originator of the term HIPPO, highest paid person's opinion, and my dear friend. He's going to share Experimentation Culture Awards story of Atlassian's turnaround. And Lean Ariel, LA, she attended last year as a guest of the Women in Experimentation. She blew us all away with her contributions during the unconference sessions and over dinner, and also her singing during the karaoke. So when Tone and I were looking for somebody to talk about behavioral science, there was just no question. So we reached out and she gratefully to us said yes. So Lean Ariel will also be our 5th speaker. So do have 2 pieces of news. Start with the bad news. Public waves are closed, as I already mentioned. So you do have to wait till November 19th for the motivation ticket sales. But the good news, if you are a TLC member, you don't have to wait. You can skip the queue. Scan this QR code or use bit.ly/EI 2026 TLC. Skip that queue, get your tickets before they're gone. So you don't have to wait. But the reason we're all here, let me introduce Namrata. I'm really excited to introduce her because I first came across her while serving on the jury for the Experimentation Culture Awards. Her team's case really impressed us. They showed a clear evolution from centralized client-side approach to a model that empowered more teams, increased volume, and transformed what had been a disengaged group into what they described as a fully focused machine. Their growth was thoughtful, intentional, and inspiring, and it made her stand out immediately. Namrata's career began in fashion, kind of cool, think tank engineer collaborating with cross-disciplinary teams to shape concepts long before they became final drawings. That early foundation in creativity and conceptual exploration took her across 3 continents and eventually into digital product design, where she now has spent more than 17 years working across physical products, websites, digital tools, and mobile apps. She's built first-generation apps for emerging startups, led the design team at Tele2, and worked with a wide range of global brands. And now she's turning her attention to something even more important than design itself, ensuring the way we experiment is ethical. This is a conversation our industry needs, and I'm genuinely proud to have her here today to lead it. So please join me in welcoming Namrata. Let me pass the screen share to you, my dear.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for this kind introduction. And I'm super excited to be here today. And while I share the screen, so let's put you all on the side so I can see you. Right. So let's dig in to know how we can be superheroes of user experience and learn about ethical experimentation. My name is Namrata and I work at Leo Vegas Group as staff product designer and have previously led design teams at Swedish telecom giant Tele2 and e-com startups Buddy Company and Understatement. And a little bit more about me as a person. When I'm not working, I usually paint. And I've had 3 painting exhibitions this year, for my first time. And whenever I get time, I hold craft workshops for underprivileged children, mostly back home in India. And I'm an amateur conference and podcast speaker. I'm new to the community. So I assume that you all would be wondering, what is ethical experimentation? Well, it is not just about running tests, it's about running the right tests. So let's go deeper to understand the why behind it. So during my time at these companies, I've learned that the roadmaps are filled with new feature releases planned over the period of time. The business cases are so lucrative that many believe that path to growth is a pile of feature releases over time and we can grow. But that's a myth. We all know that. So releasing new features alone is not the path of growth. We need to do continuous improvements alongside. Together, they lead to the path of growth. I'm saying this because often the releases that reach end user are super duper MVP, which is a minimal viable product. There are multiple reasons behind why we build the super duper MVPs. It could be lack of resources, lack of time, time to market, and many more. These super duper MVPs often include compromises and are filled with assumptions. Therefore, we heavily rely on qualitative, quantitative data as well as experimentation to ensure the assumptions are data backed. Now, let's narrow our scope on experimentation. I'm a big fan of experimentation. There's nothing quite like the thrill of seeing real user data validate or even shatter our assumptions. So this is the typical process for experimentation that looks like. Product managers and the CRO team up with product design and engineering. But while we debate metrics at CRO conferences, something fundamental often gets overlooked: the role of product design and engineering in experimentation. Too often, design and engineering are treated as an afterthought or a resource to pull the experimentation through. Draw the solution, code the solution, but real experimentation actually starts much earlier and goes much deeper because user journeys are not linear, they are cyclical. And many people fail to see that. Therefore, if we combine our superpowers with the blind spots, we can reach our North Star. So this is from Dylan Lewis, hippos, but these are different types of stakeholders apart from just hippos that are highest paid person's opinion. We do have zebras, which are zero evidence but highly arrogant, or goose, guesstimating overly optimistic scheduling estimates, many more. I am super sure we would have one of us have had experience with at least one of them over the period of time. And all these stakeholders and everyone in the team have concerns and opinions. Everybody focuses on solution. This is my hypothesis to build this solution. And all these things lead to a silo trap. And such stakeholders love to approach in silos, focusing on a single metric or isolated feature without considering its ripple effect across the whole user journey. But ethical experimentation means asking, are we running the right tests? It's not just about technical rigor or ticking off business goals. Many hypotheses and ideas are often based on competitors. This competitor have it, we should do. But has the competitor tested that hypothesis? Is it doing well for them? We don't know. They might be looking at us and thinking the same. So ethical experimentation is actually the balance between business and user needs, making sure business objectives don't overpower user experience. Websites and apps exist first and foremost for the users. If we lose sight of that, the whole experimentation loses the meaning. So here's an example, and I would appreciate if people can write their feedback in Zoom chat. On the hypothesis, if we replace the form field on dark to light mode, it'll help increase the completion rate. So I'll give you a minute, maybe a few seconds to think on and what it should have been if thought ethically. Yeah, I do see you all are on similar right track as it should have been. So moving forward, it's actually that, as you said, the underlying problem is indeed the bad color contrast. We should fix that and not replace it, because such hypotheses may lead to ripple effect across the design system, aesthetics, and many more things. When we excavate for the right problem, instead of blindly adhering to the solution suggested in the hypothesis, it could lead to a form looking like this with just the white light mode input field in a whole dark mode form. Here's another example. In this hypothesis, by having a clear and visible pop-up for opt-in to other brands, users will more likely to accept cross-marketing because it'll stand out more. Things that users don't interact. Can you just make it as pop-up, please? We've all heard this many more times. So this time it wasn't the question, but did you think the same? Adding a pop-up is such an obvious solution to many. But when we involve design and engineering early on, since they work on end-to-end flows and user scenarios, the user journeys may have many existing messages for the user already. They could see multiple overlapping messages, as I call it, raining pop-ups. This silo thinking leads to fragmented, sometimes harmful experiences for our users. We would have saved many days, which we spent on this hypothesis planning and prioritizing because a Zebra stakeholder wanted it. On lighter note, as Sten Rasmussen said on silo traps, that aligning expectations are more important than inflating them. Otherwise, just as those hypotheses, we will continue building roads and trees standing tall in the middle of the roads. So what can we do to avoid such traps and work ethically? To start with, I want to quote Jared Spool. We often think that users don't like change, yet users go through small and big changes all day long. What users don't like are breaking changes, sudden interruptions, blockers, bad surprises, changes that they don't understand and can't see any value in. Therefore, incorporate ethical experimentation because it's about building experimentation into daily practice, validating bold solutions with iterative, smaller tests, and encouraging every team member to contribute. Not just analysts or product managers, but product, marketing, design, tech, even compliance. Collaboration breaks silos, connects the dots, and ensures our experiments serve users as much as business goals. Ethical experimentation isn't about running A/B tests more or chasing quick wins. It's about humility, curiosity, and respect for the people who use our products. Let's move beyond silos and solutions in search of a problem. Let's build a culture where experimentation is thoughtful, inclusive, and above all, ethical. So if we add these building blocks, the hypothesis we build will be more ethical. We should ask the person who made the hypothesis for more details. What is the goal for the test? What is the root problem that they're trying to solve? Is that the right problem? Will it have any ripple effects? Is there any data behind the hypothesis? And what is the level of confidence? So I built 2 workshop formats and have worked to align and build experimentation more ethical. The first one is based on James Clear analogy. Are we dealing with a leak or just a puddle? Some problems are like muddy puddles. The way to clear a muddy puddle is to leave it alone. The more you mess with it, the muddier it becomes. Many of the problems I dream when I'm overthinking or worrying or ruminating fall into this category. So go do something else and give puddle time to clear. Other problems are like leaky ceiling. Ignore a small leak and it will always widen. Leaky ceilings are hidden, structural problems that get worse and more expensive the longer you ignore them. Mopping up a puddle may feel productive, but if you never fix the leak, you're in for the trouble down the line. I further divide leaky puddles into another format called stinky fish. With the stinky fish workshop, we map all the leaky ceilings because we all tend to shove uncomfortable problems and ideas onto the back burner, hoping they'll magically solve themselves. Spoiler alert is that they don't. That's why I love running the Stinky Fish workshop, something I've brought to 2 different workplaces. The idea is simple. The longer you ignore an issue, the stinkier it gets. This workshop helps teams identify, surface, and prioritize those neglected problems before they become unmanageable or a leaky ceiling. And here's an example of how it looks in real life. So with those workshops, we were able to build better hypotheses. An example in this is this hypothesis. I believe by explicitly adding labels to icons would not only improve accessibility, but also lead to higher conversion. This test led to 4% increase in clicks. However, the conversion rate for such users increased by 15%. And this one where sales increased by 9% by explicitly stating the data amount instead of the word double data. And this is another example that I have where we removed a placeholder amount in the deposit form field and enabled a button which led to increased deposit initialized by 20% and deposit success increased by approximately 21%. Unfortunately, we tested 2 things and we don't know which thing impacted the outcome, but if they both did or if they interacted with each other, because we didn't run this test as a factorial test. So moving on, building a hypothesis for a assumed solution X won't solve the underlying problem Y. The X and Y problem, as it's sometimes called, occurs when a person tries to solve a problem on their own, pursues a method that seems like a promising approach, gets stuck, and then asks for help with those chosen method instead of asking for help with the original problem. Remaining open to having a new look at the bigger picture might help such people to accept just being handed the solution to X instead. Be directed to alternatives which might be more practical by far, or being assured that the particular approach they've been working on is unsuitable. Since design and engineering work together with holistic user journeys, they can help with understanding the right problem and breaking silos. So let's rethink experimentation and let's be superheroes of user experience, championing design, aligning our tests with real user needs, fixing leaks, not just puddles, and never letting the stinky fish fester in our teams. And yeah, I'm so excited to bring this methodology to Test and Learn community. And thank you, Kelly, and everybody else for sticking around and watching all the way through.
Awesome. All right, let's give everybody a chance to scan the QR code. Wait, bring it back for a second.
Sorry.
And scan it. There you go. Give every second to scan, and then we'll give folks a second to okay, there you go. And then we'll start the questions. All right, Louisa has a question. Do you want to ask it, Louisa? Or do you want?
Sure, yeah. I mean, Namrata, you and me have worked for quite some time together now, and some of the examples were from the companies we worked at. And I wonder, because most of the hypotheses in our backlog usually come from you, where do you get this drive from? You mentioned a little bit about the experimentation in the beginning, but where does this passion come from? And yeah, where did it start? I mean, coming from design.
Thank you, Louisa, and thank you for supporting with experimentation. We've worked together for many years now. So when I started my journey with startups, as I mentioned, and we were small companies, we didn't have enough budget and resources to do proper experimentation. We started with guerrilla testing and guerrilla A/B testing. But when I joined Tele2, which was much bigger organization with a lot of budget and money, we were able to have proper tools and tasks, every processes in place. And that actually helped me drive that confidence and that thrill to have data-driven decisions. Design, user experience is always like data-driven. If it's not, then it's not user experience.
Okay, so
And
it was at Tele2 then that it started.
yeah, the proper one, I would say. Before that, it was
Okay.
probably like Gorilla and
Hmm?
not the proper, I wouldn't say that's called an A/B testing either, because that's not really with proper user base and not enough users either.
Not controlled experiment. Mm.
I have a question. So there's more than one way to talk about ethical experimentation. And on your talk, you focused a lot on the accessibility side. What about thinking about the ways in which we optimize, or who we're optimizing for, or the things that we're optimizing? So right now, you are working at Leo Vegas, which is a gambling company. How about when we're thinking about optimizing in spaces where, you know, it's a vice, and how do we think through optimizing and experimenting when we're also have to think about our customers? How have you all thought about the ethics of experimentation in that kind of space?
Yeah, because just to add to that, I also thought gambling companies have a lot of whys and this baggage of being bad. But when I joined Leo Vegas last year, I got to know about the other aspect of gambling, which is the majority. That's not about the casino and betting and those things, but that's more about responsible gambling and a lot of legal and verification processes. I would say that's the bigger aspect of a gambling company, because we are highly regulated, sometimes even more than banking. In terms of money laundering also, gambling
Oh, I
companies
bet.
are lower risk than crypto.
Wow. So do
Um,
you all do stuff around making sure that the people who can get in are the right people and stuff like that?
yes, so that's where we use a lot of experimentation to ensure that a non-fraud, a good user has the smoothest possible journey, and all the roadblocks and speed breakers that we've put in the journey are for the fraudsters to ensure that the experience is really good and healthy. But it does involve a lot of experimentation to ensure that the sites are not just about accessibility, but also about user needs and their journey.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Yeah. And I noticed Matt was talking about fake door testing. What did you mean about fake door, painted door, Georgiana and Matt?
I just jumped on Matt's comment, and I think
There's no product. Oh, sorry, Georgiana. It's like it's like you run a test to try to glean interest in a potential feature that you haven't built, and so it's made to appear that it exists to get feedback. So the A/B test is that it's a painted door. There's no house. The door doesn't open, and
Oh, I know what it
to
is, but what was
me,
the question?
well, I would think that would be more about whether or not whether or not it's the ethical. I thought the whole point of the talk is about ethical testing.
Oh, so you're asking,
And
what about the ethics of doing?
that to me is what, like, whether it's gambling or whatever, that's independent of testing, because the gamblings happen anyway. And so, but it's more like the test design. How does ethics mount to test design? And are there certain types of designs that are either I'd say at least ethically ambiguous? How about that? And to me, painted door or fake door, or whatever, has always sort of not offended me a little bit. And so it just feels like it's extractive as opposed to being enriching of the customer experience. And it's more about it's more about extracting information from the customer as opposed to providing value for the customer. And so to me, that feels like it lives at least on the boundary, perhaps, of something that's ethical or not.
Oh, interesting. I've never
I
thought
think
about
that's
painted doors that way. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
I kind of agree with you, Matt, because it's as experimenters, we want to make sure that we improve user experience, not make it worse. And by doing this painted door test, we effectively frustrate consumers that are thinking the feature is there, and then they find out it's not, right?
And yet, consumer research, or not consumer research, UX research has shown, I've done test after test after test, where adding friction, especially in like in compliance situations where we are where consumers are providing their personal information, especially with money, where money is exchanging hands, if it's too quick, if the user experience is too quick, they feel like, oh, what just happened? Like, was that safe? Like, did it work? So we spend all this time as optimizers removing friction to make it quick. And if the transaction occurred too quickly, consumers feel like their money wasn't safely transacted. So by adding intentional fake friction that tells them your money is transacting, and putting fake friction in there, and okay, your money is being moved safely, blah, blah, blah. Consumers feel like their money has been safely deposited between, point A and point B, even though it was actually an instantaneous transaction. So there is a case for fake
friction.
Friction, thank you, to be made when money is, which is not the same thing as a painted door. But I'm just saying,
and I mean, and there is a purpose for painted door tests, right? Let's be honest. I mean, if there is a feature that costs a lot of money, you might want to test the interest first before providing the business case. So I'm not saying there's no use for it. I think it has a specific use. But I see your point, Matt, about the user experience maybe not the best.
But is it ethical? Maybe it is. I'm just wondering that it feels extractive, but
I hear you. I would argue that consumers also like to be asked, what do you like?
Then ask them.
That's what a painted door
That's
is.
deceptive. No, that's deceptive. It's deceptive. It's inherently deceptive. Like asking someone is asking.
Because it's self-serving.
Something else is, it's, I don't know, quite passive aggressive, but it's manipulative. One is deceptive. I feel it's deceptive. but that's just me. But it might be nice to have some sort of definition or someplace to consider what discussion about what actually is an ethical design. Let me put it this way. I would be interested in having such a resource because it is helpful to be intentional about
Lisa, I think we have
what the design is.
But it also depends on what is the hypothesis, what is being tested with the fake door test. And apart from that, if there are other methodologies like usability testing that's used for these super expensive things that want to be built. And that's equally good.
Yep. Yeah. Other ways to get there that are
much more ethical because we are not giving fake assumptions to the users, and it's widely known methodology, and it's probably equally expensive compared to putting it live on the site.
Yeah.
But as I said, it also depends on the hypothesis that is being tested. If it is giving a very lucrative fake information to the user, then even a non-fake door, a proper test is also unethical.
Yeah.
Well, almost all consumer products are extractive in some way. You know, you have to pay for them. But if you can give the consumer a great experience, that may be what they're paying for. So in the gambling case, on the surface, taking people's money doesn't seem like a great thing to do. But if you give them a great experience and they spend more and they're happier, is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could
In the
argue
end,
it
it's
is
a
if you
user.
don't think gambling is any good, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah, it's entertainment and it's user experience as any other. So as Namrata mentioned before, just improving user experience.
And
Yeah.
I remember on the thing that Kelly, you mentioned, I did this guerrilla testing long back onto the button because it was e-commerce. You have to pay for the product, and instead of a tap, we added the swipe. Because then it takes a little bit longer than just the tap to increase, to add the friction.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's mobile apps where it's more possible than the websites that we are doing now.
Namrata, when people approach you, are they approaching you to do experiments or to do user research or something else?
I'm into design, so I use a lot of research myself. In fact, here the usability testing and the qualitative research is done by design team wherever I've worked. So I use a lot of both qualitative and quantitative data, as well as commercial insights and competitive benchmarking to together decide on to what we want to experiment. But yes, the house is open to the whole company to write for the hypothesis. And then we have a core team of people with the CRO, PMs, design, tech, and the part that I mentioned here in the talk, that we do have these close group of people where we talk about if it would have any ripple effect, if this is hampering the user experience and all of that. So we mitigate all of that to decide whether this hypothesis should even be prioritized or should be parked. So it's not just me, but the whole company. But together we are encouraging the whole company to write hypotheses and be more experimentation driven.
Thank
That's
you.
really cool.
Thank you.
I may have to bring the stinky fish concept to my next clients. I really like that.
Yeah, I'm known for
And-
funny of the workshops that I give.
And it usually has a lot of traction because people remember the name.
And that makes a big difference, right? Being able to take a framework that people aren't going to forget. You know, you should put it on a shirt.
Yeah, because both of them were similar to heat meats, but it's not 100% heat meat, and it has a more catchy name to it. I get more audience.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. Well, does anybody have any final questions?
I've got a question. It's a little bit different, but it's on the topic of ethics. So I have a client. It's interesting you work in gambling. So I have a client who, technically, what country you're in, they may or may not be considered a gambling website. But they actually donate a proportion of their profits each month to charity. So a conversation I'm having at the moment is what is the line between, well, charity washing, essentially. So our hypothesis is that some people are more likely to subscribe if they know we're doing this, but then at what point is saying, hey, you should subscribe because we donate to charity? How do you find the line between charity washing and what's just experimentation? How do I do ethical experimentation there?
Yeah, I personally do not agree to those kind of things that I commit a murder and then just donate the money to charity and then I'm free. That kind of thing. But for me, that's totally unethical.
Yeah.
How do you find the line though between it's something they do anyway, away from experimentation. They guarantee £1 million a month goes to charity. Do you just say completely, we're not going to do any experimentation that's going to mention charity? Do you maybe do some experiments where we make it a bit more obvious that we do that? Because it's on the homepage anyway, but if there's an
But
experiment.
it's also, but like the charity part is more of like a business need. And that's they are doing. And if they want to highlight that, that's also a business need. That's not the user need. A user does not really care about if you're doing a charity or not. And that's what I said, that if we combine those business needs or if we just talk about business needs in experimentation, then it's not the 100% experimentation. It's unethical. And we have to level up the user and sometimes we just overshadow the user needs that, no, this is actually a user need because business really wants it. But no, it's 100% business needs to if they want to highlight the charity thing.
Oh, that's
I hadn't thought about that.
saying. So the business versus the user, are they donating to charities for themselves or are they donating to charities for the users? And if it is the user, then how much do they highlight that they're doing it for?
It's kind of like if you pay this much for a game, you have donated a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Are they doing it like that? If yes, then that's good. But if they are just saying it on the side that we are donating X amount of dollars to the charity because we are doing something bad.
Right, like Corey just pointed out, are they donating it for the tax write-off? Then it's a business. It's for the business. But if they are doing it so that like
So I mean, if I give you guys more context, because I genuinely would love your thoughts. So each month it's a subscription model. We run a competition each month. They choose charities. Charities apply to be a partner with the client. They have to go through a whole process to get approved, and then each month there's a different charity that is selected. So it's on the homepage. They receive a minimum of £1 million, but they essentially receive a percentage of whatever sales we make on the subscription. So it's directly, if you're just decide to pay more money this month, then more money is going to go to the charity in a very loose way. And it's on the homepage. It's part of the model, which is that I think they're actually registered charity or something like that. So no, it's not behind the scenes tax write-off. It is very much in their marketing on the homepage, very direct on any entry page. This is the charity we're supporting this month with these subscriptions. So it's not a behind the scenes thing. But yeah, the thing I'm dealing with at the moment is how much I want to experiment with making that more obvious or calling that out more versus it feels a bit charity washing at times to me.
I don't understand the issue, actually. Since you're asking about, is it, the issue seems to me that if you're ambivalent about encouraging people to gamble more than they're comfortable with, then it seems to me that any experiment, any intervention that you do that encourages people to gamble more than that, you think that's unethical. It sounds like you're ambivalent about gambling in the first place.
Yeah, it's not the
It seems to-
gambling I've got the issue with. It's we're going to try and get, it's like greenwashing. It's saying you
Yeah, I
should
know.
do
Well, I
this
understand.
because we're donating to charity.
Well, yeah, but it seems to me though that you're tapping into the washing business which is like a larger latent space of anything that you do. Let's say, forget about it being charity washing. Let's say it's some other benefit that they get for gambling. You're encouraging them to gamble more. So I don't understand what it seems the ethics is whether or not you incentivize people to gamble more than you think they should, or is it the fact that there's also a social good component to it? I don't quite understand the ethics, the ethical question there. What if it was like they were gonna like, what if it was perverse and the people who gamble hate social good? And you said, and the company is like, for all the amount of money you gamble, we will lobby against charity. Yeah, so there's like a negative. Would that feel different? Or I just don't understand the charity part of it. Why that's the
I
ethical issue. Seems the ethical issue is that you're incentivizing people to gamble more.
I guess in my head, I've not actually seen it as gambling, because in the UK, it's not coming to gambling laws. In my head, I see it as committing somebody to buy an item of clothing or any other sort of e-commerce transaction. But along with that, there's the charity linked to it. And at what point is really trying to promote that charity aspect to improve sales? Are we doing that for the charity? Well, I say, are we doing that for
What if
charity?
you are? What
I know
difference
we're
does it
not
make?
doing it.
What if you
Well, yeah,
don't? So
this is
what?
where the ethics come in, because I
So
know.
you think it's only a value to give to charity? The value of the is not in the additional resources that folks who might need those resources get to consume. It's really about you, the giver.
Well, I guess
that
my
seems.
question is, do the ends justify the means? If we generate more sales, which therefore generate more donations to charity, is that okay if we've been experimenting on people to get them to that point?
That's
Or
more, that's less ethical than to get people. So there's a world state where people are consuming more gambling, its sales go up, and there's less resources to charity. That's a more ethical world than the world in which people are consuming the same amount of gambling and there's more resources for charity. That's a less ethical world.
it depends on your philosophical stance.
With most of the countries where gambling is legal, we do have explicit responsible gambling rules. So it's not even allowed to promote like that, or even we do have like guardrails to ensure that the user does not get encouraged to gamble.
Or
Yeah.
gamble beyond their means,
But
or
how is that different than selling them highly sugared cereals,
Same thing, yeah.
which is
Or-
bad for their health,
Yeah, or makeup.
but they really like the cereal?
I feel like we're going to get into a drug discussion in a moment.
Or liquor, or pretty much anything, So
Yeah.
Yeah, when I joined Tele2, Leo Vegas from Tele2, most of my friends were like, how can you join a gambling company? And I said the same thing as what everyone said. When you're selling sugar or makeup, you're doing the same thing.
yeah. Hey, with that note, sorry for taking everybody down a big path, but I think it's fascinating and it's interesting, and obviously people have lots of thoughts and feels on it, and maybe we'll have a whole panel on ethics and experimentation and conversation, and it is okay to discuss. I agree, Matt. It's important. And yes, everybody have a lovely weekend, and I'll be letting everybody know what's coming up soon. As soon as I have it scheduled. It's been a busy week planning Experimentation Island and getting ready for Conversion Hotel. But I do have conversations with the people that are coming up in December, and I'll be letting you know very soon. So have a great time, everybody. The recording will be up later today. Have a great weekend. Bye all. And for those of you who will be on Texel next weekend, see you there. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.